Registered Phenomena Code, 086 Object Class, Gamma Orange Hazard Types, Radiation Hazard, Organic Hazard, Grouped Hazard, Sapient Hazard Containment Protocols. A 30 km quarantine zone around the former site of Reactor 4 must be maintained to prevent the spread of the anomaly. This is officially named as the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant Zone of Alienation, or Exclusion Zone, and is staffed by a mixture of authority assets and Ukrainian military personnel. All civilians entering the zone must be accompanied by authority field agents and researchers disguised as tour guides and tourists respectively. This allows for an undercover study of the wider region, as well as steering the populace away from areas of higher radioactivity which may indicate the presence of RPC 086 instances. All persons and vehicles entering and exiting the zone must be checked for contamination. All persons living within the exclusion zone must be provided with regular contacts and tests of soil and groundwater for traces of radiation indicating RPC 086 must be performed regularly. Unauthorized access to the exclusion zone is to be treated with immediate detainment and interrogation. Evidence of RPC 086 is to be confiscated, and such detainees are to be treated with amnestics before being passed to the Ukrainian authorities via pre-arranged channels. At %20 NBC.jpg, an image of a group of RPC 086 instances traveling towards. Description: RPC 086 are a group of humanoid anomalies which inhabit the Ukrainian town of Pripyat, the remains of the Chernobyl power plant, and parts of the surrounding area. These figures outwardly resemble humans in 1980s-era Soviet hazardous material suits including gas masks, and emit high levels of radiation, the highest levels recorded by a researcher being 180 sieverts per hour, a level which would deliver the lethal dose of 5 sieverts within 100 seconds of continuous exposure. RPC 086 instances appear to be fully solid and will move their heads to look at moving objects, often giving preference to moving people. The instances often move in groups of 5 to 10. Said groups tend to move to distinctive locations with higher than normal levels of radiation and engage in motions that, to human observers at a distance, appear to be similar to radioactive decontamination procedures. Tests in regions afterward show slightly heightened radiation levels. Initial attempts to secure instances of RPC 086 for containment proved impossible. When instances were moved kilometers from the center of the exclusion zone, said instances collapsed, leaving only the hazmat equipment on the floor of their containment trucks. No trace of anything inside the hazmat suit was discovered by investigators. Furthermore, said suits maintained their extreme levels of radioactive contamination, and no change was reported in the total number of instances active within the exclusion zone. Instances of RPC 086 are non-hostile unless provoked, but the high levels of radiation emitted mean that establishing communication for interviews has proven difficult. During the first recorded interview from KGB-era documentation, a political prisoner equipped with a series of questions, a notepad, and a piece of paper was used. This resulted in the death of the subject from acute radiation poisoning soon afterward, and the original documents still show high amounts of radioactive contamination. Later attempts have tried to make use of autonomous vehicles, dead drops, and abductions of single instances to reduce risks to staff. The current interview protocol involves isolating singular instances of RPC 086 and inviting them into secure, lead-lined rooms for an interview. This has yielded several interviews with some information, though most interviews yield no or little useful information, with instances of RPC 086 simply sitting silently in the cells, or, if interviews are done in quick succession, performing the motions of radioactive decontamination in the cell. When angered, instances of RPC 086 display abilities near peak human fitness, capable of outrunning most individuals. Instances of RPC 086 seemingly attempt to use non-lethal methods to subdue the targets of their aggression. However, the levels of radiation exposure that result often inevitably lead to the death of subjects. On occasion, subjects injured before or during restraint have been carried into the main hospital complex in Pripyat, 126. Further examinations of the hospital have yielded no traces of abducted subjects nor any trace of instances of RPC 086. The appearance of RPC 086 instances beneath the hazmat material is currently unknown. During interview RPC 086 Delta attempts were made to make facial scans of RPC 086 through the lenses of the mask it wore, resulting in. Currently, the only known image of an instance of RPC 086 beneath the hazmat suit is under review and study. For further information about the nature of this anomaly, a written description is included with interview data expunged. No written or physical copies of the appearance of RPC 086 are to be kept in this document to prevent inherited KGB documents. Field report from KGB operative. Translated from Russian. Dear comrades, as enclosed in this letter, I visited the site of the recent nuclear incident near Pripyat. My first on-site thoughts were of the use such an isolated and now potentially well-protected area may be for staging listening posts and the like, in keeping with protocol. In this, the town and reactor building itself does not provide much. Both have many hotspots of radiation and will likely have them for a long time. I believe we should divert our efforts to the countryside. For this reason, the expansive terrain may provide better space for facilities that Comrade Tikhanov may wish to keep secret. On a more curious and potentially serious note, upon my last night in Pripyat I saw motion around the abandoned hospital complex. They appeared to be a large group of individuals wearing disheveled hazardous materials equipment. I presume these may be scavengers, but felt that their behavior did not seem normal for such thieves of the people's remains. These may be rebels, survivors of the accident, or disguised Western infiltrators attempting to scout the area as we are. Faithfully, major records of RPC 086 behavior noted by KGB observers. Translated from Russian. Date behavior recorded 1987. These creatures, for they cannot be people, seemingly have no need to rest, though they are more active at night. We have observed a group of 12 performing seemingly standard decontamination protocols on a nearby building over the course of 3 days. Comrade checked the site with a counter after they had all left and noted a slight increase in background radiation over the whole building. 1987 tried to be friendly to one of the creatures today to see if they could understand us. If so, these may be the greatest soldiers the Kremlin could ever ask for. Waved and yelled some short greetings to an isolated creature. It looked at me like it was curious but couldn't quite comprehend what it was seeing. Decided to leave well enough alone after that. 1988 Comrade is dead. There should be some record of him in the annals of our nation, so this will be it. We noticed a group of 6 or 7 creatures approaching us steadily. Our radiation alarms went off and the others, including myself, made a retreat. Comrade used his service pistol to cover us. Bluejak Hamuka, the bullets just went straight through them and they sprang on him. The last I saw one had wrestled the gun out of his grip and had him pinned down. I cannot wait to get out of this accursed place. Interview log. Log RPC 086 Alpha. Log RPC 086 Delta. Addendum. Analysis of KGB records on the movements of RPC 086 instances has yielded apparent patterns to the movements of various groups acting on a cycle. Further research has been approved following incident 08.